Hey, what's up, guys? Dylan Hernandez here, and today I'd like to go over my journey from full-time Marine to full-time real estate professional and how I was able to make that transition as smooth as possible. So let's get into it.
Okay, let's go.
So for me, I joined the Marine Corps right out of high school because I decided that it was a great way to start my adult life and help prepare me for whatever the future held. And little did I know that I was going to truly love it. And at the time, I decided that I was going to stay as long as they'd keep me. And during that time in the Marine Corps, I was able to do a lot of fun different things. I was able to serve in 3 different deployments all over the world, and also was able to serve in many different billets, such as martial arts instructor trainer, where I was able to make instructors, water survival instructor, and one of my favorite and the most difficult, drill instructor. And during this time, it taught me a lot of different things. It taught me how to push past my limits. It taught me what true leadership was and how to lead others and empower them as a leader. And especially as a drill instructor, because when it comes to being a drill instructor, you are there to set the highest example of what it means to be a Marine, but also on the back burner, you have your family. And it's not, when are you coming home today? It's, are you even going to be able to come home this week? And it ends up being almost like a 3-year long deployment. And so, with that being said, I enjoyed what I did, and I knew that what I was doing helped me serve my family and provide for my family. So, I wanted to serve in the Marine Corps at the highest level possible. But it got to the point where I realized how much I was missing of my family life. My son was born on my 3rd deployment, and I came home to a 3-month-old son. And shortly after that is when I became a drill instructor. And the majority of the time that I was there, I was watching my kids grow up through a phone screen. And the time that we did get together was normally pretty rushed, and I'd have to get back to work. And I just felt like God was leading me in a direction that wasn't the Marine Corps anymore. And that was a surprise for everybody who knew me, because at the time, everyone thought that I was going to be the next Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. I was going to become an officer or whatever the case was. But I knew that even though that those things were in my grasp and those were possible, something needed to give. And that's when God led me to real estate. And before that, when I was a drill instructor, I got introduced to real estate and bought my first house. So I saw the value of appreciation. I rented that property out, so I saw the value of owning rental properties. And I realized that it was an occupation that not only could I help others and do what I loved in the Marine Corps, which is lead, educate, and empower others, but it was also something that, as hard as I was willing to work, I could also get back in the form of income, which in the Marine Corps was vastly different, because it didn't matter how hard I worked or how high I was, I still got paid the same as the next person that my same rank, regardless of how hard they worked. And so real estate was a different kind of beast. And I looked at my wife at the time and I realized, you know what, God is leading me out of the Marine Corps. I believe this is the right decision for me, so that way I can give back time with my family, but also provide for my family. But before I do this, it's going to be like I'm a drill instructor again. And that's what I did. Every time I wasn't working on my Marine Corps job, I was working on my real estate job. So during my lunch breaks, I was making my calls. After work, I was doing showings. On the weekends, I was doing open houses. And I was working my butt off to build this business so that way it'd be sustainable for whenever I got out. And that's ultimately what ended up happening. During that first year, while I was still in the Marine Corps and doing real estate simultaneously, I was able to earn Rookie of the Year for my brokerage at the time. I was able to get on their board of directors, also known as their Associate Leadership Council, or ALC. And I was able to start to give back to agents in the form of teaching them based off of what I was learning, because I was building my business quicker than most of the agents who had been there even a couple years. And from there, it was time to transition from the Marine Corps to full-time real estate. And it was scary, I'm not going to lie. But I knew that I had already put in the business to build a sustainable business, and that it was ultimately time to get that time back with my family. And so I got out of the Marine Corps and started going full force into real estate. And since getting out of the Marine Corps, I've been able to accomplish far more than I ever even thought was possible. I've been able to help over 100 families buy and sell homes. I've been able to help multiple agents when it comes to growing their business. But most importantly, I've been able to give back time with my family. I've been able to be at every single kids event, every single sporting event, take them on family vacations, and truly enjoy time. And when I want to, just take the day to enjoy time with my wife. And that's something I never thought was possible whenever I was still in the military. But if you do it right, you can accomplish the same thing in your life. So if you're currently in the military or you're in a 9 to 5 and you're looking to make the transition from that to full-time real estate, here are 3 things that I've learned along the way that I believe that everyone should do before they go into full-time real estate. Number 1 is get your license and start building your business while you're still doing what you're currently doing. And the reason being is within this business, they have such a high failure rate. And I think one of the biggest contributing factors is people go from one end to the other without having already built their business, and they fail to realize that it takes time to build a sustainable business in real estate. And if you haven't built up those resources or you haven't built up those connections, you're going to quickly run out of resources and you find yourself in a position where you're wondering when the next paycheck's going to be at. And that's why I believe most people go back to what's most comfortable and what's most sustainable for them. Number 2 is start building your brand and building your reputation before you go into full-time real estate. Because most people don't realize that if they're going to work with someone who knows them currently, that's going to be based off of what their current reputation is like. So if you've built a reputation of complaining or not following through with what you're doing, you're going to be hard pressed to find people who are going to want to work with you, at least those who know you already. And so you're going to have to start building that reputation with people who don't know you and become that person that people know is going to get the job done. And number 3, and one of the most important in my opinion, is to start paying off all your consumer debt and building your savings up. And I say that because most agents have to quit because they run out of resources or income, and they have so much consumer debt that's hanging over them or their overhead, and they get into a point where they have no other choice but to go into a job that will pay the bills. And by focusing on getting that consumer debt paid off and not having the overhead lingering, you're in a position that you can make the decisions to work into real estate and work for who you want to work for, and you instead of just working for anyone because you have to. And that is the power of being financially stable, in my opinion, is you get to choose your clients. You get to choose who you want to work with because you have put yourself in a position that you're not reliant on the next check. So that being said, get your license before you get out. Start building that brand or your reputation before you go into full-time real estate. And make sure that you're paying down your consumer debt so that way you have less overhead and less stress whenever you get into full-time real estate. So that being said, if you found this content helpful, make sure you like, subscribe, and give me a comment on what I should go over next. And if you're interested in more information, book a call on the Calendly link below, and let's talk about how we can ensure that you're taken care of. Until next time, my name is Dylan Hernandez, and I help my clients and agents dominate the real estate industry.